G'day world, Chris Hogan coming to you live from Longreach, Startup Weekend Outback. This is take 2. And maybe you watched the last one, but watch this one, it goes for longer. So, Nikki, you are from Code Makers,
That's right.
and you're part of the Hot Desk program that came out to Longreach, flew out on a plane. Come on. Why don't you drive the 15 hours like everybody else? And it's been a fabulous, 54 hours of intense, workshopping with local people here with their ideas. What has been your impression from the people and their ideas and just the community of Longreach?
I think one thing I really love about being here and being at Longreach is just like the type of ideas that the women are coming up with. So they're very like practical and very much like real problems. Whereas I notice a bit more in the city, it's more like, yeah, let's solve first world problems, which is fine. But this one's like, it's about solving industry problems or like problems specific to women working on the land, which is really underserved in technology, right? So that's like really interesting, and also just like the resourcefulness of these women is like they're used to kind of getting stuff done, and a lot of them run businesses, they run farms, and they kind of it's just like they're creative and they're kind of doing things, and it's just really cool to see their confidence grow over the weekend in terms of what they're working on, developing their idea and then standing up at the end and presenting it. So I've really enjoyed watching that process.
Yeah. And I noticed from the pitches that it wasn't about them. It was about either their husbands, their children, or their community.
It's a very community focused group, very kind of well networked. A lot of them, it was great from a customer development point of view when they get to that point, because a lot of them are solving problems that they experience, and then it's such a like small town, and they kind of are like, oh yeah, like I'll just call up this person, that person, that person, that person, because they know all the other women who would experience or like other people in the community who experience that industrial issue, or and so I love how like tightly networked it is, and how many people they've been able to talk to, because that's what they do a lot of the time.
Yeah. So what was sort of the numbers of people that they managed to talk to from market research?
I think some of them talked to, I think one of them said like 100, but like
what?
Yeah, but I mean part of it's like surveys and bits and pieces, but so there's one company that's doing like a place to aggregate agricultural like rural women's workwear, which is very specific.
I spoke to them, the Bauer.
Yeah, the Bauer, it's great. And I think they spoke to about 100 women. There was another lady who like pre-sold her bags that she was selling online, and the team that I spent a lot of time mentoring, managed to talk to a lot of abattoirs and processing plants, and even people in the like quarantine and that was like affecting the problem. So they have these connections and they've just put them to use to validate problems that affect their community. And I love how they kind of are now getting some insight into how maybe technology can be used to facilitate their ideas. Whereas a lot of them, I found when I first came in, they were quite almost sometimes like belittling of themselves, or a little bit like unconfident, thinking that like I don't know anything about this. And it's actually like, you run businesses, like you've got a lot of skills compared to a lot of the people in the city, and so once you can combine that knowledge of these like underserved underserved problems with technology, I think it's like super exciting.
That's a fantastic story there, Nikki, and I guess you getting out of Brisbane and seeing other parts of Queensland is a bit of a highlight. It's being part of the Hot Desk.
It's good fun. I've been staying in Brisbane. Actually, before I moved to Brisbane 4 months ago, I don't think I'd ever been to Brisbane. So that was fun. But then also just seeing kind of like the outback. Like I've been to rural New South Wales, but not this far north. I love seeing the variety. The stars last night were insane, like beautiful, the sounds, the animals, and all of that.
So would that be one of the key takeaways, is that there's a few I think I've taken from what you said: the community, the environment, the stars, and is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think overall I've been really impressed with how the community is getting behind innovation. Like I went out to a farm yesterday where they're building solar farms on their property.
Camden Park?
Yeah, Camden Park, and they're working with all these like they're just changing their model to adapt to, you know, the current environment and try new things. And I love that culture and how some people I'm talking to are interested, for instance, with code makers. So we teach kids to code in a virtual classroom. So it's all online by video conference, and there's no physical in-person stuff, but talking about, oh, how can we, you know, transfer those skills or run some programs with the Longreach students that don't have access to that kind of education. And just generally like how I'm like the number of women that have showed up and kind of got involved for this small startup weekend. I've just overall been impressed with how the community and the government's getting behind it and all that. Yeah.
Thanks so much for your time, Nikki.
Sure.
So there's plenty more interviews. If you haven't seen them, they've been happening all week long. Actually, well, since Wednesday. Here in the outback Queensland, and they're available on facebook.com/BCityLife, or you can search for them on YouTube. Just search for it, Big City. Cheers.